or less, anything like that. Okay, right, this is literally for people mainly new to it. So it's going to be, you know, go out, have a coffee, whatever. The main thing basically going through is I'm by no means an expert on Sass. I started using less originally to make my life easier. I'm a front-end designer, so basically, yeah, my name's Suleiman, Soul Caliber, I'm pretty much everything. I'm a front-end web designer, starting a small family business, blah blah blah. And I started off with using less, just to make my life easier. It was like the in thing everyone was talking about. And I was drawn to that, like most designers, due to the site looked nicer. That was it. The less website looked nicer than the Sass one, went to there. I started using it for a while. Does anyone use less here? Just you. Right, I'm used to, you know? Right, what I found out was I'm lazy in this aspect. I let other people that are experts on the subjects teach me, and I just go that route really. They tend to try things out, and you know, I'm busy, I can't be bothered doing all that. Everyone, Chris Coyer, Andrew Clark, numerous people swaying from less going over to Sass. That's pretty much why I went onto it, and that's why I'm talking about Sass, not less, and other pre-processors. Right, so we all know what CSS is. CSS stands for Custom Style Sheets. This is literally taken from W3C, apart from that bit, and that. And basically, it's the style in sheets. We know that, that's quite simple, blah, blah, blah. Old news. So, pre-processors. Pre-processors basically CSS code on steroids. It really is that. It's just, it makes it work better for you. If you're using, once you get into this, is anyone here not using any pre-processors at all? Literally vanilla CSS? Right, cool. Okay, yes. Everyone's a bit not sure. Yeah, by all means, this is for you, so you know, put your hands up. Any questions? All good. Yeah, this was going to make your life easier. The reason as well that I'm talking about Sass and why you should use it is there's no learning curve. Literally, once you set up whatever CSS you have, just put an S in there. That's it. Just .scss, that is really it, and you just go from there. Any code you've already got in there will work, it's not a problem. So that is basically CSS. Anyone knows Dragon Ball Z will know this. And that is Sass, alright? Right, there. Okay, so Sass or less. Will was curious about it. In a nutshell, Compass, that's really it. That really is it. Compass is a powerhouse, literally. I won't even go into that much detail. That is like an hour or more talking about it. You can really, that's like going down a rabbit hole, that one. You can delve into that. That is a proper framework if you're building on things. This is obviously turning confusing, but right, advantages for using pre-processors. Time. Your time, you will not be repeating a lot of code. If you work on big sites with a lot of elements, a lot of styling, you're going to be going over a lot of stuff, a lot of searching, making sure that's correct, going over it so it all, you know, is consistent. With pre-processors, you can literally just repeat code, and it will pull it in for you. It's not a problem. Sanity, obviously, going over all the code, looking for it. Consistency, that is the key thing. I can't express that enough. I've worked before in the early days making websites. It'd be like a button here, a button there, a button there, and they were ever so slightly different. It was like, I don't know if you've ever seen Photoshop, the UI on it. There was some document on it about how loads of different elements, checkboxes and everything there was like about 30 odd different ones. That was basically my web designing. So this, you know, you had a consistent button, go throughout the site. It weren't a problem. It was a lot easier. You can tell this is the first time I've done this. I'm flustered and just going through it very quickly. So, like I say, anyone got any questions, shout out. Yeah, it's more fun because you're doing the work is coming out clearer, it's less headaches. It's just a lot easier. Makes you look good. Yeah, it does. You do your work, it all comes out well. It's all groovy. Right, so let's get started. You're going to need to tell your computer to do it all. Previously, it was done by server-side. A lot of people did like that, especially with less, I believe. That was done by JavaScript, and it compiled the code and basically put it onto your site. If you got when you're writing the code, there's various types. There's two types actually to do with Sass. There is SASS and SCSS. If you're new, go into SCSS. SCSS, yeah. Because it is the same as CSS, but with variables and nesting, and basically it just adds all the funky stuff into CSS. It's like as if they said, hey, CSS4, duh. It would be like that. So it's, you know, it's easier to get to grips with. Whatever you know will work. So, yeah, and you're going to need an application to do it, or you can use the terminal, the command line. I don't know how comfortable people are here with terminal. If you want, you go for that, that's cool, and it will watch a folder and it will compile. So, does anyone here not know how preprocessors work? By all means, put your hands up. Right, cool. What it is you type your code up, the computer knows what to do, and it pulls in all of the data and spits it out as CSS. That's all it is. So you can type up, I don't know, 20 lines of code in SCSS, and it will spit out, if obviously what's relevant, it will spit out, say, 50, 60, whatever. And the browsers will be able to render that properly. If you do type it up, it will show you where the problems are, and you know, in your page, it just won't build properly, and it will show you the problems, so don't be afraid of that. So yeah, that's what it is. So you're just really writing your normal CSS. Link to the CSS file that is compiling, not the SCSS, obviously. And all it is you don't need to edit that CSS file at all. Don't touch it, just leave it. Just edit the SCSS one, and it will compile for you. Faves from Treehouse, there's actually some good articles on there starting off to do with that on the blog. So you can check that out. There's stuff online everywhere as well, starting out. Like I say, this is just me telling you why you should be using it, and there's no risk involved. Right, if you've got a Mac, you can use code. Like I say, you can use Terminal if you want. You can use CodeKit as an application. Hammer. I will put the links up and put them on the site here. Compass app, Fire, Terminal Command Line, or Scout. Windows, Scout, Compass app, Fire, and Linux, Command Line, Compass app, and Fire. Compass app and Fire is literally throughout all of them. It's cross-platform. I'm not sure if there's any more, but you know, does anyone know if there's any more? Yeah? There's more. Any that you recommend?
Get it.
Sorry, what's it called?
Get it.
Get it.
Get it.
Right, if you give me the link, I'll stick it up there, and you know, so everyone can get it later on. Me personally, I used to use CodeKit, and I'm using Hammer just to make my life easier. Right, learning curve. It's mega easy to get started, it really is, like I was saying before. It's literally your normal CSS code, and everyone here uses CSS, yes? Yeah? Good. Done. And like I say, you got the CSS file, all you do is put an S there, that's really it. And you're good to go. The program will find it, and it will compile it. And it will compile it from CSS to CSS, so you're looking around. Right, yeah. Right, workflow. If you're starting out, I don't know if you can see this well, you've got your comments, similar to comments how you do in CSS. Add comments in so you can see where you're going, you know, starting off, in case, you know, you're not sure you want to go back to later. This one will not compile in CSS code. This one is your standard CSS, so if you need that people will read, you do your standard, you know, /, asterisk, etc. That one just 2 forward slashes. So that's just for you. If you're looking at that, okay, what the bloody hell's going on here, I'm not sure, you know, you can do that, no one will see it, it's alright. Folder structure. Right, how could you see this? Now, CSS, we was told that you should have like hardly any, 1 or 2 style sheets. You know, the more that you have, the more HTTP requests, the slower your site will load. And you have to have everything on that one sheet. So if you're looking for stuff, you know, you have to look for it. It's quite difficult sometimes, especially when you have a lot of code. With preprocessors, you can, I mean, this is just a guide, and you don't have to do it like this, but you can have folders for separate things. You can have partials, so you can have like your buttons, you code just for buttons, just for navigation, for grids, obviously with mobile development now. So you can have everything separate. And all you do is you import them. So just be an import, and that's it. And with the underscore at the beginning, they won't compile. So it's not like all of these are going to compile into loads of CSS in your folder. They won't compile at all with the underscore. So you're fine. You literally can do whatever you want, import them in, not import them in. It's up to you, you know, and that's it really. And like the way they got here, it's like the main CSS, you would literally have whatever, and it's cascading, remember, so style sheet's cascading. So if you have, say, certain things like reset, they'll have to go first. So, you know, remember that. You would, and if there's colors and then your buttons, that would have to go before. So it's all cascading, import them. You all know how to do import, yes? Yeah, good. All right. And that's it. Yeah, literally, whatever works for you. You can have whatever types of documents, depending on the site that you're making. It could be a gallery, so obviously you can have certain things to images, certain, you know, different layouts to certain whatever. Pictures of your cats. You know, you can have, so whatever's you're building, separate them in, I'd recommend separating them into things that you understand. So it doesn't have to be, you know, just buttons, whatever is best for you. Separate them, do them, you know, so you can edit things later easier. Like the examples here, typography, standard, I mean, you know, you can have all your headers, your base font size, all things like that, starting off buttons, navigation, etc. Right, variables. Now, you can have variables in Sass code as well, and I believe less, and all that is does anyone here not know how variables work? It's all good, I didn't. Right, but if you're a back-end developer, this is, you know, your comfort zone. All you do is you have your variable name. With this, it's all dollars, dollar signs. So you have your variable name, and then go simulate your normal code. And so you can have, I don't know, like button, and then, you know, well actually no, that makes sense. Header 1, or main header, green, whatever, you know, it's like you can do it like that, whatever's comfortable for you. My mouth is drying up awful, can I have a quick drink? Bear with me a second. Gosh. So, yes, variables. And it works to make your life easier. So a good example would be if you're having colour schemes, and you have your primary, secondary, etc. Tertiary, I can't remember. If you have your colours, a good example is, so you have a colour scheme, you could go to Cooler, Adobe Site, or, you know, Colour Lovers, whatever. Pick your colours. Now this could be your main, secondary, third, fourth, fifth. You can go through all that. And to make it simple, you can have $, primary, your colour. Link to there as well, give credit to them. Secondary, third, fourth, fifth. And a background colour. So when you're designing, you can have, say, header, colour, and all you do is $primary. And it will pull in that code when it compiles. To make it easier. So say you have a client and they're like, yeah, that's great, but that orange is a bit too light for my liking. Could you do it a bit darker, a bit more burnt orange? Instead of going through all the code, looking through it all, you literally just edit that, bish bash bosh, all done. Literally in seconds. So it is consistent. And also it's good for when you're doing a design later on, you may think that certain colour schemes don't work as well. So you can switch it. The other thing as well, variables, you can have like, say, font weight, like regular bold, that's quite simple, but just an example. And then you can actually have it where it pulls in variables on the variables. So you can have base font family, sans serif, base font weight, regular, base font size, 13, you know, and you can kind of loop them around so it all works. It can get a little confusing at first of all, and don't go too crazy, everyone does it first of all. But yeah. And another example, you can have, say, text shadow, whatever. These names, you know, you can name them whatever you want. Inner box shadow, radius. So if you have a radius on certain, like, buttons, squares, whatever, and someone says, do you know what, they're a little bit too round, or they're a little bit too sharp. Instead of going through everything, having to change it all, just do it there, and it's consistent throughout. And then an example here is, say you have a class of button, have background colour, say full, the colours that I said before, border radius, And this is nesting as well, which we'll get into in a moment. So where you'd usually do, like that is the closing tag for button there, and these are inside. So that is literally button A, and it will compile as that, as something separate. So as long as they're indented correctly, so it closes there, so that's not part of that. And if you do one where it has to be directly after it, not a space, just do the and sign. So at hover, background. Now another thing with this is when you do colours, you may want to change them slightly. So say you have, like say the colour fourth there, which was, I don't know, blue or whatever, you can actually set it to darken on hover, which means, again, it's to do with consistency in the design. So all the colours work together, it's not like some off colour. And also if a client or yourself think later on, actually I want that button to change, I want it to be like green or whatever, it will still work. The darken, so when you hover over it, it'll be simple. And yeah, so it basically works out easier for you. Mixins is another thing. Yeah, flexible nugget of code, you can import anytime. So if you have code that's being repeated throughout the site for different things, I know forms, which they may have consistent design, which goes throughout, you can just set up the mixins if you want. Mixins are very simple, you just do @mixin and the mixin name. Open bracket, closing, and you put the code there. Whatever goes in there, when you do include, which would be @include, and the mixin name, it will pull in all of the code from that into there. So, literally, if you're doing it 10 times throughout the site for a certain style, and there's a lot of code in it, you can pull it in. I remember one I did a while ago was for background noise to make it give a texture to a colour with CSS, which was loads of code. There was base 64, all kinds of stuff in there. So rather than having to copy and paste or write it or whatever, I'm not writing that was awful. But if you copy and paste that in, you know, it can be all over the place. And if I need to edit it, that's a lot of stuff to change. So all it was just do a mixin, pull it in that way, quite simple. An example, you know, mixin, box in boss. Now this, you have two variables in there as well. So, you can have your box shadow, which is white. Now the opacity there, and opacity there too. So, when you pull it in your code, when you're coding, you do box, include, which is to put a mixin, the name. Now because you've got opacity there and opacity 2 there, they're relevant to those. So if you put 0.8, it will go to there, and it will add 0.05 into that one. So again, very easy. You know, again, you can name them whatever you want, and whatever content goes in there you want. It could be to all the radius, text size, whatever. And you can add it in as a variable, just to make your life easier. Right, so it's like a ninja. Right, do not repeat yourself. Use nesting, like I said. So if you have like a body and then a container in there, or like a button and then a link, nest them like that. So rather than having to repeat code, so like say you got a button, I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone here has like style buttons with hover states and things like that, and you have to keep going over and over and over. Just nest it in. So dot button, open, and put the stuff inside, similar to what I said before. And that works with anything again. So yeah, use variables for commonly used. Missed the sentence there. Just ended. For commonly used elements that you're doing. So if it's consistent, don't obviously name variables for everything. It's confusing. Just things that you're doing a lot. If you're repeating things, I mean, and use mixins for areas that have groups similar code, like I was saying before. And the good thing as well is there's a good community obviously online with coding, and a lot of people have done some really cool mixins. And you just check out on like say GitHub and Gist, you'll find stuff on there, and all you got to do is copy and paste it in. And it's easy, just it's free to use code. Right. Yeah, when using mixins, use variables if it's things that you can tweak. So rather than having to make say 5 different mixins for different things, do it so you can change the actual items inside, similar to what I was saying before. Right, and use extend where possible. Now extend, oh right, here's nesting by the way, obviously I was saying, so if you've got button, background colour, secondary, colour primary, so your background, your text, span, there's a span there, border bottom, And again, using the colours, which would be, if you've got a colour scheme going on, it will work with those colours. So rather than having some random green in there, it's something that you've gone through and like you or the client have agreed to. And then you've got your hover, and then, like I say, you can darken it or lighten it. There's other things as well. I'm trying to keep this basic for the newbies, you know, that's why, because I remember when I was learning this. Right, so extend. Extend is another option in Sass. So, say theoretically, you've got the button there, what is it? Yeah, and then you've got success button. Well, you have dot success, and you're extending dot button. So pull in all the code from there into there, and you can change something there. You can overwrite as well. If there's certain elements in there that you want to go over, like say there was a text size, you can just go there, and because it's cascading, it will change, you know. So take that in and not put that in the CSS at the end. Yeah. Right, compass. Compass is a big one. I don't fully understand a lot of stuff on compass. It's very much a developer side thing, I won't lie to you. But it's like having everything ready for you, all the mixins, everything. Does anyone here work with sprites as well? So on the website, when you have like, you know, just one image sheet with all different sprites where you're moving them around, it actually compiles that for you. And all you've got to do is put in the name of the code and it will move it all around so you get the exact code at that specific point. So it will do sprites for you, and it is pretty powerful. I use it now and then, but it is something that for the future you can add line. Yeah, go for it.
What is the difference between CSS inheritance and extending CSS?
Sorry?
What is the difference between CSS inheritance and extending?
Not much really. It's very similar. It's just it's like I say, I'm not an expert on this. I'm really not. It's made my life easier in the last 6 months. That's all. And I'm still learning a lot to do, which is why I wanted to direct this towards people starting, because there's no, you know, risk. I'm pretty sure if you checked online, there'll be some people that really know about that stuff. So I don't want to, you know, you probably know more than me. Who knows? But like I say, I'm literally doing this from the people that are writing vanilla CSS and saying there's no risk, go for it. Just even like, if you started off using CSS as normal and you just added variables in for that one project, that's cool. You know, and you can set up your color schemes. But yeah, was it compass? Like it is good. Some people have said it is the only real type of, you know, proper framework to work on. It's the only real one by the definition of framework. So, but whatever. Yeah. Recommended by Fonzie. But yeah, I won't lie to you. Obviously, I'm flustered. It's the first time I've done it. It's quite hot for some reason. But yeah, Sass just makes your life easier. It really does, or less. I mean, I remember when I spoke to him, he said, "Oh, I'm interested in seeing the reason between Sass and less." To be honest, whatever floats your boat. You can use vanilla CSS if you're getting the job done. Who cares at the end of the day? But this it does make your life easier. I can't stress that enough. So, any questions that I can answer? Yeah.
How do you save a chunk of code as a mixin?
Literally just copy it, slap it in a... Where's the mixing bit? Yeah, literally, slap it in, do your @mixin, whatever name, @mixin, whatever name you're going to call it, opening bracket, close, and the code goes in there. And that's it. So whatever is in there, when you type @include and the name of it, it will pull it in.
So what you do with @include is basically calling mixins?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, include is calling
Do you call in any other thing with @include?
Not that I know of, no. It's just mixins. Variables is the $sign and the name. And as far as I know, include is just mixins. I've never seen anything else.
And what about extend? How do you relate it to a particular mixin?
I've never really used extend that much, to be honest with you. It's something that I'm starting to get used to because it actually compiles the code better as well as CSS. It doesn't do like doubling up. It adds it so you've got, you know, like say header 1, comma, header 2, and it pulls in the relevant code for that. So it keeps your CSS lean as well. So if you're doing a lot of coding, it can really, keep the lines down basically, if that's what you want to keep it like that. But yeah, so if you've got say 3 headers, and you've got header 1, comma, header 2, header 3, colour green, and that's your CSS. You're writing, normal CSS like that, and some other bits. It works in that same sense. So if you're extending the bits, like where was it? Bear with me. Yeah. When this is compiled, the dot success, which I've got to go up there, which is to the button there, it will compile the CSS for dot button, and what's relevant for the other one as well, it'll say comma that, and then underneath in your CSS, it will just have the differences, because obviously it's cascading. So it will have everything that's there, it will have button, comma, success in the CSS code, and then underneath it will say dot success and whatever's relevant there. So it keeps your CSS lean as well. That's one difference between the extend option. But that's something that I'm sort of like dabbling in, but it's, you only use it when you need it. You sort of like feel like you have to do it on everything for some reason. But yeah. Anything else? Cool.
In terms of learning code, which of the apps would you recommend?
Me?
For Windows platform?
Windows, I actually don't know. No, actually, I would say Compass. I've used Compass on the Mac, Compass app. And it's $10 though. Scout's free, I believe. So if you want to just test it out, I'd recommend that one. But Compass, yeah, it's $10. It's a good app actually. And a certain percentage goes to charity as well. So, you feel a bit better about yourself. And yeah, and they are good developers, the people that do it. Anything else? Sorry, I'll let you go first. Yeah, go for it. Sorry? Auto-compile? If you're, what do you mean, like every time you save it? Yeah, it will do that. Yeah, you can set applications to just do that. I have it where I use, I have it like a very small coding window on the right, browser on the left. Every time I'm saving, it's compiling, and then the build folder is refreshing on the browser. So yeah, you can just keep doing it. You don't have to, do loads of code and then check and you go, oh, Christ, what happened there? So yeah, you can see it happening. Anything? Sorry, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, when using sort of importing files, is it possible to set variables in your main file and have them available to the import files, or do you have to set the variables locally? For instance, say if you wanted to set a variable to hold your font family in your parent file and then have that available in a typography include or whatever.
It would be available.
Yeah, you do it.
Do you have to have the import files with underscore in front, or?
You don't have to, they won't know. If you, say you're importing, say you've got your main SCSS style sheet, and you've got @import quotations typography. Or if it's in a folder, partials / typography. If it's underscore typography.scss, it won't compile. Just literally you put the folder name typography, and then we'll pull it in, no problems. And anything that's in there, you're fine, you're good. And later on when you're doing it, you can reference that stuff as well. So variables, whatever.
Yeah, I just encountered it when I was the first project using that, and I was using CodeKit and it just kept throwing up compile errors on,
really?
On my, so I ended up just putting the variables in the files as well.
Well, if it's the same as that, it should be fine. As long as, like I say, it's cascading. So if you've got stuff at the top and it needs something and it's below it, then obviously it's going to be errors there. So if you've got, say, typography and it's pulling in certain colours, and then you've got colours, like you're importing from colours SCSS, and that's below it, it's going to be an issue. So you need to, everything has to be flowing in that sense. But that's probably the only problem that I've ever had. Anything else? Cool. Who's going to use a preprocessor now that didn't before? Hey, success, 2 people. There you go. I've saved 5 hours a day from 2 people. Right.